All right, there we go. We are live, and I see that I messed up your camera a little bit, so we're gonna fix that too. Good morning, everyone. Happy
Probably on.
Friday, brunch with Egnards. I don't know. It's American Independence Day for those of you asking on Discord. You're like, why Friday? But you all forget that I'm also an educator, and I can basically do whatever I want now that it's the summer. I am joined by a good friend and shardmate, Solostrate, who I'm gonna from now on call Solo Savant, just because his Star Wars knowledge greatly surpasses mine. And I sometimes get annoyed when he asks me questions, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about with all this nerd shit. I say, as all of my nerd shit is hidden in front of me for none of you to be able to see. So, Solo, my man, I've talked enough. How you doing?
I'm good this morning. Appreciate you having me on. Uh, and to those of you who've seen me throughout Egg's Discord and all over his Reddit posts and channel and stuff, I do exist. I'm not an alter count of his. And it's been mainly on me. We've been trying to do something together for like 2 years. So it's all my fault, not his. Now you have a face to take it out on.
Yeah, you you would ask me, you're like, hey, we should do this thing, and I would say, okay, let me know when. I'm open. And then you come back to me like 6 months later and say, hey, about that thing, and I'd say, yeah, just tell me a time, like I'll figure it out. And it just happened to work out today. Um, I'm going to a movie at 11, and I
Yeah,
figured we would try to get some raid runs done, and you had messaged me last night asking if I wanted to do anything this weekend, and the time just worked out. Before I start getting into my raid, we already have White Tiger is in the chat asking about Hondo requirements. I don't I don't know. I don't know pirates. I know the Curse of the Black Pearl. I know Captain Hook. I don't know crap about pirates in Star Wars. Solo just did a video a few days ago that was kind of like a mathematical breakdown of what he felt the requirements were. So I'm gonna let him kind of explain um, what he thinks, and if he's wrong, he has more basis in being right than I ever possibly could.
uh, yeah, sure. You're gonna have to tell me what the question is. I can't see
Oh,
it, or is
it's
it just in general overall?
just in general. What do I think the requirements for Hondo are going to be?
Um, I'm back and forth with this. A lot of people starting to put out some stuff, and not saying that they don't have merit. A lot of people are thinking Jedi um, or Kenobi, General Kenobi, and Jedi Knight Anakin due to their interactions, and they're believe me, they interacted a lot. I just don't see CG being that generous. I
Yeah,
mean, pretty much everyone at this point has General Kenobi at high relics. There's not really a lot of monetary value there. They might would throw Anakin in, but then again, it also comes down to the event. They have to build an event
hmm
to where it overarching has his like story. Think about Ahsoka. She was the Padawan and various things. So you're also limited to that. So I don't know that they're going to do a Galactic Republic tier of his event. And I say that because Ezra is in there, and veteran smuggler Chewie is in there. So if you look at the time frame, we're kind of after Galactic Republic and in Rebels, and we go all the way through the race saga. If you look at those first two requirements, so on my speculation, and I didn't go into it in the video. The video is longer as it is enough already, but I didn't go into that little aspect of why I'm omitting JK and JKA because I just don't know that they're going to make a tier. Because think about how you have to use your guild tickets and things like that. They would have to put a lot into their programming to make a several tiers to unlock this guy, and I just don't think they're going to do that for just one little phase of his arc. They might. CG, they're probably watching this and say, damn it, reprogram. And
Meathead's
so,
watching? Love it.
uh,
Hey, Meathead.
and so I omitted that. So just take that with a grain of salt, because I know everyone's going to be commenting and be like, why is there no GK? Why is there no Jedi Knight Anakin? And so then I start with comparisons of what Ahsoka required, and you match it up, right? And so Ahsoka, this one hung me up. This one hung me up for a while. Cat being required at Relic 9, I was like, oh Lord, and we're in the con. And so I went back and forth and thought that either means two things. One, either Maul as a conquest character will be needed, and that's due to the arc where he very heavily was involved in some episodes in Clone Wars where Kenobi and Hondo actually paired together to take on Night Bros, which I do touch on that with one of my speculations. And so I think it would either be Maul from Conquest, or that's just her Relic 9 self minimum requirement. So I'm going to say that matched up to Hondo being Relic 9. I don't know, because everyone else is also saying Smee. I don't think Smee will be a Conquest requirement. I see Smee as being the lifter.
Yeah.
Also, the announcement timing. So had they announced Hondo 2 months ago, Smee would be required. And I say that because we're already two of the three of unlocking him. So if you're pushing for this GL, if you're pushing for Hondo, you got to think they need monetization.
Mm-hmm.
And so since they need monetization, if you've missed your red crate or yellow crate from cycle 1, cycle 2, you cannot just buy the Smee. So if he's a requirement, he's gated and hard locked. They're only targeting like 3,000 people versus the entire player base, you know? That's
And
their
if you
goal,
think
right?
about
Bringing
it,
people.
I know I listened to your video yesterday while my wife was working. And again, I don't really know this aspect of Star Wars, but you broke it down in a way where I was like, all right, I mean, this all makes sense if I believe everything he says, because I don't have a basis for that information. When you talk about like mirroring the two GLs, Hezra wasn't required for Ahsoka, right? So Smee, this would, if Smee were required, it would be the first time that we saw a character require a new conquest character, at least from a GL standpoint. Hey, Scribbles, I'm sorry, man. I apologize. I told you we're not exclusive. I do have some other friends here. I want you to keep
I love
talking.
Scribe, by the way. Love Scribe, by the way. Watch all his stuff.
I
I
want you
know
to
he's a big on his coffee and stuff.
so Solo. I want you to keep going on this Hondo thing, because I do think it's really important. And while you're doing that, I'm just gonna also run some of the easier raid runs, the ones that have no basis in giving a crap about what's going on, so that people can look at pretty things while you're telling them things that seem to make sense. So please continue, man.
No problem. And so, and then by the way, Scribe, since you're out there, I saw your speculation with McMole, and you actually do say that or Jedi Knight Anakin. You threw that out there. I'm not disagreeing. I just don't see it. I don't see them building the event for that. So back to what we were saying, Hondo and Naka Relic 9, we already know. I'm saying it matched up with Cat. I don't see them doing Smee because, again, a lot of monetization, you can't go back and get those shards. Proving Grounds, 18 months away for newer players, plus the 4 million GP gate. So I left it as no conquest character. The only call out would be maybe Maul. And I say maybe Maul because Maul has been out long enough, just like Cat. So if there's a conquest character, I'm going to say Maul. And the reason I say that is just solely the interaction between that arc where Kenobi partners with Hondo and the pirates to take on the Night Brothers. But there again, I don't know that they would do Maul as a conquest, so I took him out of mine. And from that same arc, though, I put Savage in. And I know a lot of people are like, what? But in that battle, Savage loses an arm, so that's pretty huge. He doesn't lose it at the hands of Hondo. Let's get a little clarity there. So I just feel like, based on the fact that he's not really needed for anything in the game, he's a great character that some people have, some people don't. And he has an Omnicron that makes him great in a game mode where he can be pretty much a solo character. I looked at the in-game metric that ties to that and how that relates to Ahsoka, and I said, well, Fulcrum has an Omnicron, makes her kind of, soloable, OG type. In Territory War, she was required for Ahsoka. And so it's also one of those characters you put her a team on her solo. She doesn't really have a set home. Neither does Savage. So I said, you know what? I'm going to put Savage in there instead of Maul. So Maul is the conquest character out, Savage in, just because he's one of those characters. People do have him. It's one of those mid things where you either have him and he's up high, or he's mid-tier relics, or you don't have him. So there's still some monetization there. So that's why he's in there. Then I also think we're going to need Dr. Aphra. And that is going to be where they get you, because Dr. Aphra, being a conquest character, a Journey Guide character, you're going to have her requirements to unlock her, which include Hondo anyway. So if you're going to push for Hondo Anaka as a GL, you're going to need Hondo at Relic 9. So it's kind of like a telltale, well, it's not really hard to get her. We're making one of her other requirements needed anyway. And so to that point, I then look at, if you're going to go with Dr. Aphra, they do interact in the at Galaxy's Edge, things like that. So again, we're in the back half of Hondo's story, which makes sense to the event. If you're going to have a veteran smuggler Chewbacca, you could also throw Aphra in there, and it's in that same timeline that he's interacting with all these characters, Galaxy's Edge, Batu, that whole thing. So looking at the Ethano marquee, you see Maz Naka's, or however you say her last name, you see Maz's background setting in one of there. So I feel like they're building the event to have a lot of Ethano and veteran smuggler, Chewie, and maybe even that Dr. Aphra requirement involved in the event itself later in Hondo's kind of arc.
That I know you were asking me about yesterday.
Dr. Aphra.
The background.
Yes.
I know CG doesn't generally give us a background unless there's a reason for it, right? So I definitely, I hadn't thought of that. I know you messaged me and I was like, oh, I didn't even notice there was a new background. I wasn't paying attention. But it definitely is a detail to pay attention to when it comes to, Hondo. Whatever it means, I'm sure it will show up again.
Yeah. And again, it's all speculation. I'm just the nerdy guy that spends way too much time on this game and deciphering stuff that may or may not be real. And so when you look at Dr. Aphra herself being when you look at Ahsoka Tano having gas as a requirement, he also needs Asajj Ventress to unlock him. Asajj Ventress had ties to Ahsoka Tano, so they made you take Asajj Ventress and again, monetization. So if you had the gas requirement, you already had her. Some people, old school, did her, gear even for the gas event. Some actually took relics. And other than that, there's no other real use for her. She does have some use in GAC, their Omnicron, but that allows the player base to decide the value they invest in her by only being a requirement for gas, and you can kind of skirt around her level individually if you have the other characters taken up. monetization there. So sticking a Saj in for Tano makes a lot of sense. Thus, I'm going to mirror that and say, if you're going to need Dr. Aphra, if I'm right about that, then Hondo is a given because you need him at regular 9 anyway. And then looking at the whole arc, well, Sana is needed to unlock Aphra. So anyone with Aphra is going to have her anyway. And she just got the pirate tag. So not to say she has anything in game to tie to Hondo. She's probably not going to be on his team in any way. She's still very much with her rebel smuggler thing she's doing. But it gives you another prerequisite requirement for Aphra that allows you an opportunity and monetization for them to take her up in relics, because she's needed at relic 5. So if they want, they can say, you know what, relic 7 on Sana, or maybe even higher, depends on, you know, how much they want to go with the cost of this thing. So she's also been out long enough that she's accelerated farmed. She has no direct tie to Hondo that I could find or know about. And if anybody knows more than that, please call it out and we'll take those questions. But so I think Sana Staros is a requirement. And I think that's solely why they gave her the pirate tag, so they can have that loose kind of, oh, this is why we're making her required.
One thing, just in case, I heard most of that. I know you're breaking up just a little bit, so just I'm not sure if you're downloading any porn in the background, pirate themed or otherwise. No. But just so that you're aware, but mostly it wasn't terrible there. One thing I do think though that players need to consider, because I heard you say it, and I know people have been also saying this. When we talk about CG monetizing this, remember we are getting 6 marquees, right? Which mean and there's gonna be monetization in those 6 marquees on top of SME not necessarily being a direct requirement, but kind of like Hezra with Ahsoka, she hits like a friggin' wet noodle and is underwhelming as hell when he's not in the team. I'm hoping that outside of those 6 marquees, and for me, it doesn't matter as an endgame player. I think anything is friendly to me, regardless. Again, outside the marquees, I'm expecting the non-marquee characters to not to be terribly unfriendly. Where we look at them and say, "Oh, I didn't want to take this character to X relic level, but sure, it's helpful, or sure, I have it close enough." And as much as I hate giving him any credit at all, that Phil, the shittiest TB player, he for once did something correct, and he actually did the math. So he must have learned something from me. And the adoption rate of Ahsoka is incredibly low, like super, super, super low right now. And I think you and I were talking about this yesterday or the day before with Lord Vader and Jabba, right? Jabba was a step down from Lord Vader, and Lord Vader's adoption rate was very low at the time. So I am expecting, maybe not from a marquee perspective, but from a relic perspective, to see a downshift, right? We already saw it with Captain Athano, who is relic 3 instead of relic 5. Though the post said relic 5 and then was edited, so maybe that was a screw up that they decided not to fix. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we're probably, with Ahsoka, we had 3 relic 9s. We had 3 Ahsokas, 3 relic 9s. I would be surprised if we got more than 2 relic 9 requirements for this character, for Hondo. And I do expect the relicking to be a little on the lower end, just to entice more people to be brought in, even with the marquees, because realistically, even if the marquees are at relic 3, nobody's keeping them at relic 3, right? Like, people are still going to bring it up for raid and for any other game mode. So I think we're going to see a lot of indirect costs versus like the direct upfront costs.
No, and I struggle with that too. When I was doing speculation, I was like, yeah, I don't think there's going to be any more R9s. And so if Scribe's still out there, maybe your Luminar is safe. But at that point, I think that they're going to compensate that with taking some of the other ones, like I said, characters that you already need for other stuff, and they will probably bump them up a little bit relic-wise.
Yeah.
I did think Ezra was going to be 7, and they only made you go up one more tier at 6. So to your point, yes, Phil, and I watch Phil, follow him too. He keeps saying our king and Wampa's a girl, but other than that, I got no issue with him. But he's right. Ezra is kind of showing that trend as well. It's like, we're only going one more relic level. What's that, right? So I agree with that. My thing is more about I'm an overachiever. I'm trying to tag the characters that you need, and then I'm throwing out relics. You know, if I'm wrong about the relics but right about the characters, that's a win in my book for me. If I'm wrong about it completely, well, then, you know, I lose face, and you didn't see it until today anyway. So my point is, I just want the obscure, the no one saw that one coming. If I can get one or two of those right, that's all I care about, right? Then I know I'm on the right track with how I do things. We've talked in the past, you know, I don't really spend any currency in terms of hard dollars in this game.
Yeah.
There's been some light spending, but so in order, and I've played for 10 years. So like you said, I'm able to stay at that in-game range, and within a couple of months of everything coming out, I'm always prepared for it. I'm not going to say free to play. I'm not going to make people cringe. I'm not claiming to be that. I have spent some money, light speed bundles and the cup thing, but so I always try and make sure if I'm just right about one or two things, then I'm on the right track of how CG analyzes things and thinks. Because as a person who has the limited resources and doesn't use money to make up the difference, I need to be right when I do a lot of my in-game speculative stuff towards something. I need to be kind of 30-40% right so that I didn't waste those resources in vain. So I could see them doing that. I could see them leaving Sana at Relic 5, but at the same time, I could see them taking her up to 7. My thing is this: if they do announce, especially in the next set of requirements, don't know that they will, and she's Relic 5, then I'll expect a Relic 9 or 3 Relic 8s somewhere. She stays, or she goes up to Relic 7, then I'll say no Relic 8 or no Relic 9s. I still think there'll be 2 more Relic 8s.
The other thing to remember that I think everyone should remember is, you know, when we talk about our limited resources and everything, like, you don't necessarily, a lot of these resources you don't have to spend right now, right? Like, we all want to be ready and have those check marks just checked and be able to say, oh, we have them. But we don't have to. We can, like, keep our hoard safe while we're waiting and seeing what the actual requirements are. And I would implore players to do that, right? To not make a decision where, like, oh damn, didn't fully bug out there, where players hold what they have in favor of, like, waiting instead of taking a guess and then feeling like they've been screwed over. It's cool to, like, guess, and it's fun to speculate, obviously, because we want to be right. But let's speculate with our words, not with our resources.
Yeah, no, I'm not telling anyone to do what I do. I'm just that way. It's an OCD thing for me.
Yeah.
I hoard a lot for a project or two. I've got so much stuff in there just for me going straight to Relic 9, whether he's needed or not. Doesn't matter. I like this character. I like pirates. and all my other conquest characters, I try and take up the really high relics anyway. But the reason I say it about otherwise, I do try and chip away some of my other speculations. Take that with a grain of salt. It's based on their other uses in game, obviously.
Yeah.
Number one, if I can say, well, I'm going to gamble on this, then I'm right. But there's a use here for it, I'll go ahead and do it. Otherwise, then yeah, I hoard everything else. That's why if you were to watch my video, you'll see when I push the photos of the characters up, Ognot is sitting there with a bunch of green crosses, but he's still gear 12. So no, and that was my next one. I feel like we're going to have Ognot in the game as a requirement, but I haven't pushed the button yet. I'm ready to if they announce him. So that's what I mean when I say those things. When I say I'm speculatory and hoping I'm right about a few of them, it's because I'm already ready to do and make that jump. So like I said, that carries me to the next one. For those of you that know Hondo, you should know the character lore enough to know Melch. Melch was his Ognot friend. And usually Melch was like the reason Hondo succeeded. But Hondo, of course, is Hondo, so it's all on him. He gets all the credit. But so since we didn't get Melch as a relic or as a requirement for a new marquee, because I don't know why Steve meant to mark there. I mean, honestly, like you took Quagold out and Melch there, CD would have less backlash right now about pirates because everyone's like, who the hell is this guy? You know what I'm saying? Same with Ethano, but at least Ethano looks so cool and like stands out that you might be like, oh yeah, I did see him in the film because he stands out. Whereas Quiggold, you're like, is that Biston with a tumor on his face? What is that? So at the same time, they missed the opportunity for Melch, so I think they'll make up for that by putting Ognot in. Now, in my video, I did say he's going to be Relic 5 minimum just because of the cost. And I said he could be up to Relic 8 because, like, no one has him at Relics. I think it's only 224 people have him even, like, low Relic with only, like, 44 people or something like that having him up as high as Relic 9. Overall, he has almost no relic values when you look it up, analytics. So, but to your point, and you made a good point here this morning, I'm not saying I'm convinced, but I could see it. They might say, you know what, let's go with the Ethano route. We will put Ognot in. Maybe he'll only be Relic 3 because so many people don't have him at all at Relics. It's still some slight monetization, and it allows them to say, you know what, we're not going to hammer you more than the 6 marquees.
Yeah.
So I see your point there. I can't go back and change my video, but Relic 3 to 5 may be a better range than what I said when I said 5 to 8. But that's always definitely going to get this requirement. It's time.
That's always a favorite thing of mine when I do a video and then something is just slightly off. And people get mad, and I go, well, I can't go back and edit it. So just make fun of me and let's move on because there's nothing I can do here. Oh God, just kill them all. I need better modding on these guys. But I know, like I've done this before.
Yeah, and I haven't attempted the raid yet either. I was going to do my runs here this morning after this experiment.
Did you
of people seeing that I'm a real person?
So I know while you were talking about Hondo, a few people had asked, about who you are and your channel. And I did post it way earlier. But Solostrate is a shard mate of mine who, to my recollection, was making videos a pretty decently long time ago. I remember seeing them on Reddit. And he's been around a while. He's a long-time player, retired from content creation for a while, and is starting to get back into it. He does pretty much, it's actually kind of interesting because I would not have been able to tell this from looking, but his computer is a literal potato. And he does all of his content creation from his phone, and you wouldn't know that. how he edits and does all of his stuff. And I've been pushing him to kind of get back in and spend his time, and I'm gonna push him to invest in a PC of non, like, what did you say earlier, Commodore 64 proportions at some point. But he does have some really solid takes on the game that, whether or not they're right all of the time, you know, I'm right like 30% of the time. But at least when I'm wrong, I have a basis for it. And I think that that's the thing that's missing with a lot of people. Obviously, we are having some minor internet issues. You don't really do many live stream things. Pretty much everything you do is pre-recorded. God damn, this stupid run today. Got this on my second try last time. But I would definitely, for anyone who is watching, you know, check that stuff out. He does make convincing points. If you miss some of the Hondo stuff, the video's wild. It's like 20 minutes long. There's no like crazy visuals in there, so I was like listening to it while I was working. And it, you know, it's nice to have a voice in your head that isn't the crazy voice in your head. He's also on Discord, on our Discord, and you'll see him posting around there sometimes. So, Order 66, I know you haven't done it yet.
No, I have not. So I mean, we'll pause on some of the speculation stuff unless some people are asking again. We'll cut it there a little bit. You can always watch the video, or we'll pick it up later in the end, because yeah, this is your channel, it's your thing. You're doing some raid runs. I'm gonna try my first one here. You won't see it obviously off screen. And to your point, yes, it's a Commodore 64 running the Mr. Spell iOS. So that's the operating system there. So just bear with me for those out there that are.
Yeah, my question to you, and maybe you can't answer this just because you haven't done this yet. With the Order 66 announcement that we got 2 days ago, do you have any thoughts on that? The fixes and the planned things that they say aren't working as they should be working, or are you just kind of like, I don't know because I haven't done it yet?
So my take on it is this, and I'll deny it later. So even though you have it on film, it didn't happen. I semi agree with Fat Phil. So I have to cringe a little bit. No, I like Phil. I haven't never talked to him personally, met him, but I feel like a lot of the changes, because it's so new. It's only been out, what, a week? A lot of people haven't got that muscle memory routine down yet. So it's new enough that could make some changes.
Yeah.
And so other than the Tarkin team, I see where overall, yes, they're doing what they can for game balancing purposes. I don't think it's a jabby, money thing. Because I do agree with his take that if it was to force you to farm pirates for the raid, remember they said up front, pirates won't even be in this thing for probably the first 6 months.
Yeah.
There's no value in them releasing it now and telling you to farm pirates hard now when you won't even have the GL that's meant to be in this thing until 5-6 months from now, when whatever the timetable is, right?
Yeah.
So I agree, other than the Tarkin team. Now let's look at that. The Tarkin team, by its design, since you can't play with Lord Vader, was basically a way to utilize all of the clone troopers for anyone pushing Mace, who's needed in the raid anyway. So I kind of relate Mace and that team is kind of like your Queen Amidala team from the Naboo raid, where Gungans were the main focus. You had Gungans. You could auto any tier you wanted if you just took the relics as high as you wanted. So I'm going to say the Gungans were supposed to be this Dark Trooper or whatever. I'm not Dark Trooper, Dark Clones kind of mirror for that raid. And yet people are finding a way to take the 5 of them and split it into 2 teams. So when you look at it that way, you are pretty much getting 7.2 million for a team that they wanted and designed to be only 3.6 at its highest level.
Yeah.
So I get they have to do something there. I do agree with other creators, Arnold, of course, everyone knows who that is, that they should have tested that, because that's the only team you're trying to focus this thing around. This is your Gungans for this raid. You could have tested that. But the problem with CG, and I'm going to touch on this, and I'm not defending them. I'm not a CG shill, obviously, because I've not done anything, and I don't have a lot of subscribers. It's not like they're in my back pocket. But they have everything in their game maxed out instantly. They test everything on Relic 9. Everything.
Yeah.
And so when they see interaction and the way things work, they don't go back. They don't say, hey, throw it on gear 11 plus 6-star and see how it works. They just don't do that. They should. They definitely should for some of this stuff. But since they don't, that's part of the reason I feel a lot of times that we have so many bugs. Because they only test everything at the highest level possible, and it works the way they intended when they drew it up, instead of going back and saying, okay, but does it work at Relic 6? Does it work at Relic 5? And I say that again with like the Bad Batch. A lot of people are saying Relic 5 Bad Batch performs better ROI, standard, whatever you want to call it, return on investment, than the Relic 7 or Relic 8 because of some of the metrics there. And it's actually harder, even though you have them at higher relics, to perform with more consistency. So I kind of agree with what a couple of people are saying, Fat Phil and some others. Other than the Tarkin team, I get the balancing overall for everything else. I do know Disguised Clone Trooper is kind of broken, so they did have to patch that. They did have to fix that regardless, guys. So other than the Tarkin team, yeah, I kind of agree with everything they've done. Now, to that point, that means that the targeted people that have already done what we've said earlier and put resources out there when you should have probably hoarded and waited for some more information to be released. Now you're in this IR-aligned, this whole team, and I'm getting screwed. You're not getting screwed. I know it feels that way. You're just being told to use it as a 5-person team as it was intended and built. It's our fault we didn't test it, that you could split it into 2 teams. So that's really, in my take, is the only thing they're fixing. And again, a guy that hasn't even tried it yet, and I don't have Tarkin in them at Relic 9. Obviously, don't throw anything at those resources. Didn't well on them. All I have is Apo at 7 because they did have that glitch with the Nightfall thing, so I got lucky there. Outside of that, that's my take. I agree that they did it, and I feel like they did it right. Some people at the higher end is going to be affected, obviously, but if you're at the higher end, you can recoup better from the change they made than the overall general player base.
I told you yesterday that I was going to wake up early this morning, and I woke up really early, like way earlier than I intended to, way before my alarm clock. So I've been up since 4 in the morning. And I got to my computer and I did film some of my thoughts and a potential solution. And I'm not going to give away that solution right now because I am interested in people actually watching that video and giving me feedback on that. But, to agreeing with Fat Phil, the funny thing is I did message him my assets for my solution yesterday. And I messaged him like, hey, I have this idea, ... And I didn't hear back from him for about a half hour because he was in the middle of filming his video. And I haven't watched it yet. But like a minute after I saw his video was posted, he messaged me and he's like, oh, is it like this certain thing? So I find it interesting that a few people are coming to very similar conclusions. I'm just gonna throw better crap on her because I'm. Oh, that's why. Look at this. I did not realize that this was. Nobody pointed that out to me. I thought that was supposed to be one of these. Wow. Rude people. I was wondering why this wasn't working. I am interested in hearing feedback on that. I do think that a lot of the issues with the raid right now, I understand why they're changing them, especially the CX2 like actual issues, which will buff the team in PvP and outside of this area of the game. I think that, I was talking to Pico Burrito on Wednesday night about raid testing, and he made a really great point, and it comes down to there are maybe a dozen, 15 people working at CG, all working on the same laptop, obviously, right? And those
step
people,
up from my Commodore.
Yeah. It is a step up from your Commodore. And those people have a finite ability to test. When you release something to the entire player base and you have a raid server, and that raid server, I can't look right now because it'll mess up my Discord source, but there's tens of thousands of people there testing this, so you're opening up from a few QA testers to tens of thousands of people looking to specifically break the raid. That is their job, is to try and break the raid. So I do understand when things like that do slip through. I think the one thing they have to be careful with when it comes to some of these changes is there are people, not me, not you, not Scribe, definitely Allie, because she's more mid-game, not Phil, who are all like end-game players. We are going to prioritize getting a lot of the raid stuff up relatively early, and it doesn't negatively affect me if I get a team up that I was going to get up anyway. But there are players in this position now, this really weird position, where they saw they could do this thing with a certain team, and they've decided to put more resources to that team than they would have originally. And it's a frustrating position for those people to be in, because now they're like, wait a second, I can't do this thing that I put all this money or this resource into. What do I do? And I just think that that's where CG needs to be careful with some of the changes and not make changes that are too detrimental.
Right. No, I agree. And that's kind of what I said. Like, I know it sucks for us in the end game, or those that did well or spend, some of their currency, resources, whatever, hoarded stuff. But again, that's such a niche. You're dealing with people who, account-wise, let me say it that way, their in-game account-wise, I didn't clarify that earlier, can recover better from a change to that tier than some of the grand overall player base. Wasn't trying to say anybody's got more money than anyone else or whatever. It's their account can recoup faster and better because of the way they gain their resources. And so that's kind of what I meant to say there. And I get it. It does stink. But again, those of us that are in game have either like myself, played it since launch and are fortunate enough to have all the stuff we have without spending, monetization values, or B, they spend money on it. And if you do either of those, if you've played this game that long or you spend money, CG. And at this point, yes, it's tragic and it's hurtful. It makes you feel a certain way, but it's CG. You should have expected it. You should have known. And, and not to take away from you or any other creator, especially myself, my small little audience of 2 people. But that's why there's the Arnolds. That's why there's, the scribes. Let the professionals kind of run through it a couple of times first before you, make your judgments.
Yeah.
And, exhaust those resources. It's new, it's flashy. But those guys, that's why they're in the tier they're in. That's why we respect them. That's why we tune in, right? That solely is Arnold's job. Let's just call it what it is. Although he can't partner with CG or hasn't, for whatever reason, he is the unofficial top end promoter of the game, so he gets paid to waste his resources early. Let me just say it that way.
So let guys like Arnold and Fat Phil waste their resources, and it's Scribble too. Make him waste his resources, and guys like us, we will. I don't know why I just called Consular to assist. And those of us here, we will, not waste them. It's crazy. I've been doing the same raid run forever. I did this on 3 accounts, including my account, with nowhere near this much issue last time, which is getting a little annoying. I just want to move on to Bad Batch. See, Scribe volunteers as tribute. There we go. Scribble is our people's champion. Maybe that'll give me enough protection now.
He gets the vote from me.
Yeah, he can be the person that wastes his resources.
Here. Yes. I'm doing a few runs here in the background, and obviously haven't remodded or done nothing, and I'm getting trashed. So I'm definitely going to have to do some research on this thing. And you did some runs with some accounts the other day, other people's accounts. What are you coming up with here, other than just a bad luck day, or is it really you haven't tweaked your team?
I'm struggling for mod material, and I'm trying to do as much as I can without remodding. And my hope was that I could do this team without remodding, and I had in the past. But I'm thinking, oh look, this is the health one. I am thinking that this is a team that at least for now I am gonna have to do some remodding on in order to do appropriately. I was hoping that the only team I'd have to remod, which I've already prepped my remod, was going to be the clones. So that was my hope, and it doesn't necessarily look like that is going to be the case. And I'm playing with my mods now just because I already saved a hot utils loadout of my base loadout, so I'm not really too worried about where my mods go right now. I think that this raid is a lot more mod dependent than some of the raids in the past, most definitely. But overall, for the end game, it's a puzzle that needs to be figured out. And from the mid game, I do think that there are enough options where those players can get pretty respectable scores fairly easily. Certainly not perfectly, but fairly easily. We just blow everybody up.
So I'm trying Bad Batch. I'm trying Bad Batch on the lowest tier because I don't have Crosshair and Wrecker yet. They're very close to where I can take them to relics. I'm still farming their shards, and the lowest tier with Bad Batch seems to work. So I get kind of what they're saying about Bad Batch at higher relics. Just doesn't seem to be working. I got just one shot when I put them on a higher tier with those that qualified. Other than that, I've got nothing really to offer. To your point, it does apparently, through a few of my runs here, it's very mod dependent, and that synergy in relation. And so I wanted to kind of ask you your opinion on just sidebar with some stuff when it comes to this. What's your thoughts on this raid and other metrics like territory territory battle. You have these things like, I get clones, I get they made them required to get their, in this raid. Clones versus clones, clone on clone violence.
Yeah.
Versus the same thing in territory battles where you're taking dark side characters against dark side characters or whatever in the early, I think, phase 1 of territory battles. What's your take on those kinds of things? Is that just we're supposed to overlook it because of lore and other things? Because I know in the past a lot of people kind of, you're all over the Reddit. You're the Reddit king.
I was the Reddit king.
Right.
I haven't done much posting on Reddit.
You're retired. Right. You're retiring from Reddit. But you've been the Reddit king.
Yeah.
Right. And so how many posts did you see about, oh, look at this? How many humor memes did we see about, yep, clones killing clones like always or whatever? So clone on clone violence. I'm against it. But like, what's your take on things like that? Because I feel like this raid would have been great. And I get its programming and it's only temporary. It's only 9 months to a year. So I get the reasons why they didn't.
Yeah.
But what do you think would have been some of the benefits to, hey, let's have the clone team completely have to take out Jedi Vanguard, and let's have the Jedi Vanguard team have to be the ones that take on Vader? How do you think that would have worked better?
I think first thing to kind of just talk about from a general perspective, the one thing that I think that people do have to remember is that we are not recreating Star Wars here, right? We are, and I've said this a lot, we are a bunch of nerds within the game. We're nerds here. I'm up at, you're up too at, we started this at 7:30 in the morning. We are nerds on a computer talking about a video game. But within the game itself, we are a bunch of nerds sitting at the pub playing Magic the Gathering, which I've done before. And is completely fine. And I don't really expect full lore accuracy because of that reason. And if I wanted like full lore accuracy, I would just go watch the movies. Now, when it comes to like, I think it would have been really cool that it would have been neat if they did something in regards to like, hey, we are going to have 2 versions of this raid, and if you are, using a light side team, you are fighting Vader, and if you're using a dark side team, you are fighting like the Jedi. I think that would have been a super, super neat thing, but I do think that we're already dogging on them for their coding and their issues with the coding, and just imagine how many more issues there would be if that were here, if that were the case, if they had more that they had to deal with. Cannot do an evil cam. I think you missed the truth.
That's kind of why I.
To Scribble's point, he's saying in the chat, I know you don't have the chat up. He is saying, there's probably a clause in their contract stating we can't do an evil campaign. So they're basically the Rock in this scenario, who I think is never allowed to like die or lose a battle in anything he's in, whatever his clause is. I do think that a lot of people don't realize just how much Disney has control over what is and isn't allowed, and I don't know if that means we're not allowed to have an evil campaign, but it does just mean consider that with every decision, CG is going to Disney Daddy and saying, hey, is this okay?
That's a fair point. We see it already. We know it already about their stance on kids. Omega is that borderline, of course, because you could say she's a kid, but she's also a clone. And of course, how they feel about Grogu. Let's be honest, if Grogu was a standalone character, if they put him in the game would melt, because so many people would flood into it from the success of that arc. So I get it. If you were to say you can't have a dark side themed raid where the Padawan scenes are in it.
Yeah.
But there's enough Jedi Vanguard. You could throw in there, hey, the Ethkoths and the stuff like that could be, the enemies, just take them to, like, boss level 90s and stuff like that. I think that would have worked. But I also get your stance on it. Then you're being evil from a set point of, hey, we want you to do these horrible, terrible things. Only halfway though. We give you the chance to pick a light side. So I hear what you're saying there, but to your point, it is a game. And like you said, we are nerds. We're gamer nerds. And I do appreciate your take. I didn't comment on that. I do appreciate your take. Yeah, we should be allowed to sandbox a little bit, build some teams, maybe not be tied to lore 100%. Otherwise, why are we doing it? Why are we engaging if we're not making it our own thing?
Yeah.
So I get that point too. That was a good point. At the root of it, me, we've had conversations for years prior to either of us really putting out much content. I'm just a lore guy. I want it to make sense, but at the same time, I guess if it made sense, we wouldn't be playing it because it's all science fiction anyway based. I go back to the original 1977 release of the film, where kids screamed at the screen when the Death Star blew up. Spoiler alert: the Death Star blows up in Star Wars.
I don't know why you would ruin that for me, but fine.
Yeah, but I know famously is well documented that some college kids or something screamed at the screen and says, "Oh my God, it's fake! There's no way there could be fire. There's no oxygen." And I go to this problem you have with this film at this point. You're basing it in reality. You get to that being what makes or breaks it. So I get what you're saying about it is a game. We should be allowed to craft and do some obscure non-lore things. So yeah, I hadn't really thought about it that way.
The other thing, to consider first of all, actually, even when we talk about just like the movies, we can look at like The Last Jedi even, right? And as much as I don't want to get into a sequel argument because I feel like that just happens a lot on my channel and I'm tired of talking about the sequel. We had the same issue when The Last Jedi came out, and people were like, bombs can't drop in space. This is bullshit. Star Wars is real. And it's like, there's a lot of things in Star Wars that could never feasibly happen. Let's all shut up. Now, I have my problems with the movie, but the fact that bombs dropped in space in a property where there are laser swords just was not a single... I had not a single problem with that. That's
yeah. I'm already invested at that point. I'm already invested at that point. You didn't lose me at that one minutia detail.
Yeah, exactly. I think like for me, after people were talking about that and they were complaining about it, I finally did it. I know. Thank you, Zap. I was like, if I can believe that we can travel at the speed of light or in hyperspace, if I can believe in laser swords, I think I can believe that they have figured out a way to drop bombs in space, right? Like there's a technology that exists within the confines of what this is. But that's its own thing on its own. But the other part of that, when we talk about like being able to sandbox more and like experiment more and figure out teams more, I agree. I really love teams that, where like you can figure something out and there are multiple options. But I also understand that as the game gets more and more and more complex, it becomes harder and harder to do that without something getting broken. And I think that is another thing that people kind of forget. Is it's not, like I'm playing Bad Batch right now, and Omega Fugitive, right, has this interaction with Nihilus where you can get an annihilate on the first turn, and it blew, like people were like so excited about that. But that could have been a huge balance issue, if not for the fact that she does have another team, and if not for the fact that Nihilus specifically, isn't going to be able to counter Galactic Legends because of how Annihilate works. It's just something that they have to be careful about all the time.
Yeah, no, I believe me. We all loved at the time. Now, of course, you have Bane, which really doesn't work because he's his own standalone team. So, +1 for the player base there, CG. But where we all ran C with Watt and like Armorer and things like that, that works because it's not lore accurate. It only works in that niche. So yeah, I mean, if I get your point there, where it's a game, but if we were 100% lore accurate and we were tried and true, we take that team away instantly. And then C is just complete and utter useless until Bane comes out. And then Bane, of course, is so overpowered, you don't use them with C anyway. So I totally get what you're saying there. Nobody was throwing up their hands when that team worked and said, hey, I could take these 3 and I can 3v5 damn near any Galactic Legend because of the metrics that, are here. Nobody was clamoring at that point for like, oh, but she's not a Sith. And to that point, on my altar count a lot, I'll run C with GBA and Watt just because I need that brute to be a temporary tank for Cat to kill, and then you can just take out JMK. So things like that, I mean, you're playing with the resources you invested in, you made the choice to invest in. So I get what you're saying there, where it's like, I don't want to take this character up. I have the option to make other things work because it is a game and they didn't gate me to, nope, lure only. So yeah, it's a good take.
The other thing is I found with the player base is they care about lore accuracy only when they want to care about lore accuracy. People gave CG a ton of shit when it came to Maul being on the Lord Vader team and being like, he's not lore accurate, they were never friends. But at the same time, we were playing a Jedi Master Luke team that involved a Jedi that is 5,000 years old and another version of the same Jedi, and the young version from 50 years ago of a character that he met when he was like 80. So for me, it was kind of like, you either have to want it all the time or accept that you're not going to get it all the time. I mean, when Rey first came out, her best team was like Rey with Revan with Jedi Knight Luke. Not when she first came out, but like pretty early on, because Jedi Knight Luke didn't come out for another like 6 months. And Chewbacca and Hero Finn. Like, it didn't make sense, but nobody cared. We only care when we want to care. We only care when we want to make an argument. And I just think that needs to be applied either all the time or none of the time. And I personally vote none of the time.
Yeah, no, I agree. People still run the L3 or Nest variant with Rey. And at our level, yes, or the in-game level, higher end level, you don't see it as much, but it's still, by having it open like that, it allows people to use other resources until they get the desired team built.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there would be nothing worse than, oh my God, I finally unlocked someone like a Rey, and it took forever, and it took all my resources and time, and then I still can't do anything with her because I don't have the set team. Based on, if they allowed me to do this, I could make it work. So yeah, I think, to your point, we all need to sometimes take a step back and say, well, wait a minute. And that's kind of like back to this raid and some of the characters. when and Fat Phil did a take on this, and other people, have the same feelings. It's like you're saying that Athano is going to be as a leader until we get the bigger, better thing.
Yeah.
But you have to realize it's the team itself. If you're going to use pirates at any level and you're not pushing Hondo, you're not going to get Hondo for a while. The team has to have a lead, or else it doesn't work at all. And so it's kind of like, what is it? Hera can be a lead for Spectre. Nobody uses her that way because if you're pushing for that, you're already pretty much going to get Ahsoka. But for any other, earlier game players or people just building teams, it does give them a temporary way to make something happen. So like to say Athano's going to be as a leader, we don't know yet, and he's getting buffed, right? So I mean, obviously we don't know what the impact of that change is. And I'll say this: wrong, right, or indifferent, agree with CG or not, I'm glad they're going to go ahead and buff him now, as opposed to once we get the other marquees, because we don't know what it looks like now. So we'll only know the reality of what that buff applies because we don't have his team yet. So I am grateful if they're going to do anything, they do it early where we don't know the ramifications. We don't know what we lost, so to say. We don't know the great nerf of Vader. We don't have that in relation to say, damn it, why'd you do this? We just have to accept it. So that's, I think, back to the point of I wish CG would do some more, lower tier kind of testing stuff so that they would just get it right the first time. And by get it right, let's be honest, they go through like 7,000 iterations of anything before they release it themselves anyway. So to say get it right, you don't know what else was broken and that they did fix prior to us even getting the finished product. And so to that, people like Ranger and all that were testers, I think that's really where people sit. Is like if they had the testing program come back, we wouldn't even have anything to bitch about with CG because all this stuff would have been vetted out prior to us even seeing it in the first place.
I do wish, and I made a post about this on Reddit at one point. It sucks when you have somebody go in and lose the trust, and when Datacrons were leaked because a certain player, thought like this is going to stop them, this is going to show CG. All it did is it made us lose a valuable tool, which was a program where there were players giving feedback to what was going on, and how effective that feedback is, I don't know because, I wasn't part of it. I do think that a testing program should definitely be coming back. I think it would be very beneficial, and who should be part of that, I don't know, because it has to be players who are reasonable and players who are looking to fix things, and players who want to be part of something that's going to be helpful. Somebody in the chat brought up, and I just kind of want to respond to it, is, we should be able to use any character in any team. It's lame how CG restricts us like that. We're in a game that has about 300 characters, and broken things happen sometimes. I think that GAC right now is extremely unfun because of the DS Raycron, which is broken. It's legitimately bugged and not fixed, and that's problematic. And I have it, but it just makes GAC so severely uninteresting. If there were no clauses and no restrictions and no only if this character or only if that character, we would have so many broken things in this game, so many broken teams. Everybody would be bitching all of the time, and I just don't think that everybody realizes just how bad it could potentially be.
So to that point, and I'm gonna take the hot take and get grilled before anybody, that's why fleets are the way they are. And I hate it as much as everyone that we took away the Chimera counter. If anything, it hurts me because I put out some videos on how to use that counter very early on. And that's the problem with my channel now, to your point, since I haven't put out much in a few years. Everything I've got on my channel is kind of dated. But you have to realize if they didn't buff or nerf or whatever, then no one would ever be able to climb because we don't have a true person versus person effect. So if the AI interacted the way you can win 100% of the time. If the AI knew to call Scimitar in first, you would be bitching grand scale even more because you couldn't even climb because the computer would gate you out. So yes, part of their balancing and why they have to do these things is you have to remember it's not interactive. Like it's not, one of these massive multiplayer 1v1 type games where I can adapt to what you're doing, right? It's not Street Fighter or something to like that to where I can't see, oh, you made a mistake, I can capitalize. The AI plays for all of us every day, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. So if they did some of these things, if they went that route, if they were like, yeah, I'm going to take your suggestion and I'm going to stick it in, then all of a sudden you'd be like, I can't climb. Whoever is in first is automatically in first forever because I can't beat the AI because the team is too OG. I know how to beat it when I use it, but the defense won't allow me to beat it because it's playing it like I play it.
Optimally.
And so that's part of it too, I think.
There are definitely teams, and I was frustrated with this for a very long time. And I, early on made posts about this as well. The AI being dumb. And I think I had made this post when Profundity came out, and I had said, like, this is a counter to this, not because the team is good, but because of dumb AI. But over the year, and I was very critical, over the years I've come to realize that like having an AI that is semi-dumb is actually relatively important for that reason. Some counters exist because the actual mechanics of a team counter the actual mechanics of a team. And some counters exist because the actual counters of a team just don't work as well when it's being played by a suboptimal player, which would be the AI. And one of the teams that kind of does that is First Order, right? They really need to not be played by an AI. Otherwise, you are going to not have a fun time because of all of the switching that needs to happen. It's just something that I think that players definitely need to kind of look at and consider and understand as being a part of the process.
Yeah, that's why the Raycron's so annoying right now, is because of that. It's the game balancing of what the AI can do with it versus what you can. And so when it doesn't interact that way, when you go in there and you're like, why can't I beat this? Because the AI. It's not because you did something wrong.
Yeah.
And my favorite homage team to broken AI is the Dash Vander Chewy team countering JML back in the day, because he's hard programmed. He never attacks Vandor. So unless the AoEs take Vandor out, the prepared metric is always there.
It's always
and so
gone.
You can take them out. In the hands of anyone else, I mean, you could look on, the metrics, Swogo GG, and you'd be like, whoa, this is a counter for that team. Well, when I use Luke against Dash, like, I can solo it because you use it differently. Take Vander out and then you can just hit auto, right?
Yes.
So those metrics, a lot of that spaghetti code is the reason we get the product we have, and some of these things work and some of them don't. And some of these things, let's be honest, CP knows exist, but they're like, I can't change it because it will break something 10 levels later that you don't even know is coming because they are ahead of us, right? And it's like, you don't get it now, you'll get it in hindsight. We didn't like the Vader nerf. We get it once we saw Lord Vader come out, or once we saw other characters come out. They had to do it. They had to do it for their future project. And so that you got to always take that in a grain of salt. And temporary moment of I'm unpleasant, I'm unhappy versus the long-term happiness. This game has been around for 10 years. What other mobile game can say that? I mean,
Yes.
there's a small bucket there. And the reason is it's because they know what they're doing. We don't agree with it. We don't say it daily because it's easier to point out the shortcomings, especially with God love him, somebody screaming at a screen to fix the game every day. But at the same time, we need the entire scope. We need the players that love it. We need the players that hate it. Otherwise, at the end of the day, there's no community. There's no game for all of us to sit here and either praise or bitch about collectively.
Yeah, I've been critical of this, and I still am critical of this to some extent. I know I was talking to, I don't know if he's in chat right now, Zavor on our Discord, who was asking about when they're going to finally fix some of the issues on the Ahsoka team that have been there for a while. And I was joking with him that they'll fix it when the next thing comes out, specifically because, when they bring a character into the game, and I think that the specific things with the Ahsoka team do need to be fixed, and I'm not making an excuse for them. I'm actually doing the opposite. When a character comes to the game or a team comes to the game, they kind of know where they want to position it in the meta, and if it works the way that they want it to work, then they're happy, even if the character itself is not working correctly. And then when something new comes to the game and they realize that certain team won't beat that team, but they wanted to beat that team, they magically fix it. One really big example of this is when the negotiator meta was out, and Jedi Knight Anakin was getting that buff and made him invulnerable, and they fixed it and it wasn't fixed, and then they fixed it and it wasn't fixed, and they fixed it like 5 times and it never actually fixed. But then magically, on the day that Executor was released, they were like, oh, by the way, we fixed it, and magically it was fixed. Like some of these bugs, and the same thing with CX2 now with the turn meter thing. I think they were like, we're not going to do anything about this, and now they're realizing, oh, with the raid, we need to do something about this, even if it's going to buff the team. And now magically, 12 weeks later, they go, yeah, we're gonna make sure that this thing is fixed. I do think that they think far ahead.
That's my stance on it. The Ahsoka's team might not be fixed. It might be broken. It might not be working right now because of how it interacts with Hondo's team that we don't know yet, because they can play around with that, right? Or because of the interaction with the next conquest after Maz, because they already know what that is. They know what the next era is, right?
Yes.
Like Disney pulls some strings and they program. They have to have time to do that. So they already know the next meta and the next meta. And so it doesn't make sense to us until in relation to future us playing it. So again, we have to take it for a grain of salt. With that, I'm going to step to the refresher. I'll be right back. So carry on.
Carry on my wayward son. We're gonna try this team out today. For those of you who are looking to try this specific team, which is the 2-man Tarkin team, I've gotten it to work a few times. I was testing it last night. Not perfect, but I'm pretty happy with it. The 2-man team is not overall terribly hard. It does rely on a little bit of RNG with crits, unless you put a crit avoidance arrow on Scorch. I have not done that. The 3-man team, though, is difficult. That one's got some RNG behind it. I don't know if I'll even be able to get that done today, but we'll see. We should be able to at least get this one done. Okay, throw all the bombs. Now Tarkin, Daddy Tarkin needs a turn. And Daddy Tarkin didn't get the kill. Well, again, anime lover, I am a proponent that things should be fixed now. 100%. And I am critical of them when they don't do that. But that is my argument for why they do certain things, whether or not it is correct. Can you 3-man with Tarkin, Oppo, and CX2? I don't know. I'm sure, Scribble is the one who's been doing a lot of raid testing. I just kind of sit here and look pretty and try my best to follow their leads. I do know that we have the CX2 Oppo Sky's Clone Trooper one. Both of the teams do have a little bit of RNG to them. I was able to get this one to work not too terribly. Not too terribly hard yesterday. But again, I do expect for this most likely to be nerfed in the near future. Assist. All about those crits. And I could throw a crit avoidance arrow on, which would be helpful. But I also make poor life decision. Well, this one, Ali, I have done. I just didn't save the score, and I didn't save the score on purpose. Let's just throw a crit avoidance arrow on.
All right, so I'm doing my raid testing as well. Explain to me how he kills these Jedi, because he just like dropped one, and I thought I was doing pretty well. So what is my trigger here?
Yeah, sure. Let me just get into my raid itself so that I can show it. Well, I know you're not looking at that screen, but so basically what's going on with the raid as a basis is, Lord Vader has this counter over his head, which is supposed to be 25, and then for some reason drops to 10, but then goes up. And I know because I'm an underman, it goes to 10, and I'm just confusing you. But anyway, he has a number over his head. And every time a crit happens against your team, that number will go down. And once that number goes down to 0, then he will execute one of the Jedi. So basically, you need to make sure that you don't use AoEs when they all have retribution, because of that. And generally, typically want your tank to have like a crit avoidance arrow to try to avoid it. What I don't understand, though, as I'm doing this with a 2-man, is that my team, let me just see if there's something. Oh, it's because whenever an enemy is inflicted water 60. Okay, so that's why the number is going up. So basically, you have to try and kill. You have to kill at least one of the unnamed clones, or at least a clone, in order to target Vader. And when you target Vader 3 times, you can save one of the Jedi. But realistically, you want to kill all of the clones so that you don't have to deal with enraged Vader at the end. Very convoluted.
No, and again, full apologies to like Scribe, again, I know he's put out tons of content, and they'd probably explain every one of those metrics. But since I hadn't tried it prior to them making the changes and everything, I hadn't seen what mechanics got changed or what's going on with that. So to your point, yeah, that makes sense, because I'm trying to run a 4-man Jedi Vanguard team right now, and it's like he just, like, within 2 moves he's killing Jedi, and it's like, whoa, what happened? So that makes sense. I'm just trying to figure that one out.
Yeah, and undermans, if you do an underman, he has less stacks of execute. So you have to be very specific with modding if you're doing an underman. I feel like I'm doing worse with a crit avoidance arrow, which is kind of annoying. Getting crits on crits on crits, regardless of the fact. And I know I don't have the resources right now to... I'm surprised I don't have a single crit avoidance arrow that... Why did my Streamlabs suddenly turn a different color? I don't like that. Ew. This is gonna throw me off. I hate that. Terrible. Yes, a lot of them... was doing a lot better yesterday with this. And I didn't even put a crit avoidance arrow on him yesterday. Just crits on crit. Just tons of crit. Come on.
I feel like one of the better quality of life things in this, instead of retreat, give me just restart. So you know what I mean? Like, I want to try the same team, but, like, don't make me go through 7 transitions. I get enough transitions watching your stuff.
That middle button should just restart the battle. There should be nothing else with that middle button. There's no reason for there to be anything else. What if I get him so he doesn't get... Maybe that'll help me get one more stat.
So does it matter when we're targeting like, do we need to target Apple or the Nightfall Trooper? Is it the same? And I just realized that, oh wait, one's got 3 blue dotted icon and the other one doesn't. So what's the play here?
It depends. I'm not perfect at this. It depends on the team, who you want to target, but for the most part, you generally want to target Fox first, especially for the non-bred on something. For the non-undermans. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word in my head. I think I got it.
We're calling the Nightfall Trooper Fox?
No, on the all the way on the left is Fox, and all the way on the right is Oppo.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. I got it. I just thought it was 2 Appos. I didn't even notice the name change there. Got it.
I think we got it. I think we got it.
Damn.
Will work. Oh, it shouldn't matter what I use. All right, there's my 2-man. For most runs, yeah, Owie. The only one that I found is still hard after the first run is the 3-man clone one, and that 3-man clone one, for anyone who hasn't tried it, it is tough. There is so much RNG involved with it, and I still haven't maxed it out, and I don't even fully know the strategy. I only kind of understand some of the dynamic. Want to disarm Oppo. Want to stun this guy. Mean that if somebody is stunned, if I have a ruse, none of them have retribution. Whatever. I was like following the video this morning, trying to figure it out, and it's such a pain. I might not even finish this one this morning. Disarm Apple. Done. But we want, because we want Disguised Clone Trooper needs to get the assist, which is annoying. Right, forgot about that part. Well, the Disguised Clone Troopers, I think with these guys, it has to do with the retribution. And you need the stun and for Disguised Clone Trooper to get the assist. You need both of those things to happen. And then it's not necessarily a cakewalk after that, but you have the beginning of what needs to be done. Right, so the wrong guy keeps assisting. Kinda nice that I'm doing this run last, because I have no other R9s to propagate those slots. Still, same wrong guy. You'd think there's a 50-50 shot. Will we get it this time? There we go. Okay, so he gets ruse. Because he has ruse, I can stun the other one. And then... yeah, it is super RNG. And then I don't even remember who I'm supposed to hit with. Pull a random dark side ally, and they stealth for one turn. Assuming I want to get rid of Fox, maybe. I don't even know. Okay, we're already done. I did manage to get this run down to like 2+ million, which was nice because it meant that at least it was more than anything I could get with my other guys. Oh, get this done. I know that some of the guys in the top end have already said they're kind of like, I'm investing in pirates just so that I don't have to do this over and over again every time. Because it is certainly
like
not
we
fun.
stated earlier, that's like 4 months down the road. We don't even have the full fleshed out pirate team yet. So you still kind of got to, your guild's going to run it several times between now and then.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times between the two.
Yeah.
And
I guess what I need to do is quit working on trying to figure out how to make Tarkin and Appo work at lower levels. Because to your point, yeah, it looks like they're just going to drop him every time to where he's going to get to kill a Jedi before I get to move the third time.
What level are your clones?
Appo is the only one I have. And so I think in all the videos I've seen, Appo isn't the one you need. You need Scorch. And of course, don't have him.
You're probably going to be doing the Tarkin solo on T0. See, this is where I get stuck.
Hold on.
don't remember what to do, but I can go to YouTube and figure it out. I found a video by Silver Star Wars. Let's see, we can actually, I'll actually link it. And there is, what do we do here? Come on, video. Video. I have the 2 stunned. All right, let's see. So the first one's stunned. Second one's stunned. Oh, the special on him to get order 66. Okay. 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 All right. So I was doing something wrong. Let's hop over here. And where's the game? Is over here. We want to target one of these dudes. Does not get order 66. That's what we need. Disarm. And these guys are already on it.
Does my sound effects, is that coming through too much? Do I need to like mute my sound effect? Okay.
No, because no, it's not even coming through at all.
I'm dying a lot, and I don't want people to be like, "Oh my God, why is people dying in the background?" But he hasn't lost a character, kind of thing.
What's going on? How many accounts is he playing right now?
Yeah.
Okay, got him. Got you. Got a speed down, but no order 66. I think this guy's clone trooper needs to get the. Was done. Didn't cruise. It's Scribble, man. This is an awful one. It's like I don't think I'm gonna have time to finish this one on stream. There's just so much RNG to this one. Getting this done. You have to like rely on very, very specific things happening. The only nice thing is that it's all in the beginning of the battle. And I'm seemingly not getting the right piece of the puzzle here. Okay, got you stunned. Got you stunned. Alright, we've got order 66. Perfect. We want to attack you now. Excellent. Target was already stunned, so let's get you order 66. I really hope that they don't fix it. I will say, Scribe, I'm curious. Right after brunch, I do have a video that I'm gonna put out on this, on my thoughts. I'd be curious about. There's a solution. Maybe I'll just text it to you so you don't have to watch 20 minutes. A compromise solution, because I do unfortunately think that they are going to fix this, even if I don't think it's necessarily what needs to happen. All right. Now that this is here, grant defense penetration, call other attacker allies. Don't actually know who to attack. Unit buffs can't be revived. It shouldn't matter. I guess I should be able to just attack Fox. There we go. Order 6. We're gonna be 30 stunned, but I think we'll do that. Basic. Alright, we got Fox down. That's nice. I think we can take you out. Right. Who's got you down? This guy. Yeah, and I want to like not kill him until I have a certain like amount of characters who are at high whatever this is called. I'm gonna add that so I get the buff. We want as many troopers as possible to have full whatever it is turn meter. That's all we can do. That was not helpful. Not helpful at all. Of course. Hence, I honestly don't know. We could look at the video. Let's see. I don't understand turn meter at all. Okay, so we played this okay.
I feel like we're John Madden and we're watching the footage. Need some X's and O's or something up here.
Zero turn meter. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. All right. Let's see. Let's see if we can get this done. Can we do it? Game. And race against the clock. It is very frustrating, you know, but again, this is an extreme underman. It's clearly not intended. So I can't give them too much crap about it. At all. Since this is not something they intended for us to be able to do. Getting the wrong guy. And
so,
honestly,
Egg, I'm gonna take some time to ask. Well, you're in the middle of this. You finish this up first. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I don't care. What's up? I'm just mindlessly figuring this out.
So I've been playing around with the Substack
Hmm.
since you're now leaving Reddit for a little bit there, or taking a lesser amount of content on Reddit. Let me say it that way.
Much, much, much,
Um,
much lesser. Yeah.
how does how does Substack work? I haven't figured that whole thing out yet.
I haven't fully figured it out yet either, but in general, Substack, essentially, it's kind of like a newsletter. It works like Reddit in that you can post things, but it doesn't have subs. People have to actually subscribe to you to see your stuff. They're not going to discover you at all. It has very little discoverability. The only reason I can get it to work for me is quite literally because I already have a effectively built-in community. Um, I like it because I don't have to deal with as many people being overtly negative constantly. Um, but I don't think it's for everyone. Like for you, if you were to post a video, for example, on there, nobody's gonna see it. It just there's no discoverability. For me, who likes to do text posts and has a Discord that I can funnel through, it's a little bit easier for me to build that audience. But it is really starting from square one, and I do think that that is one of the things that I think is a negative of Substack is that the discoverability is just so low. Um, let's see. Do you have a enemy? Forgot who to attack here. I think I'm attacking you. I don't remember. All right, that seemed correct. And
So yeah, to your point, first off, no one watching stuff on anything, let alone Substack. But number two, yeah, I was playing around with it, and I don't see where there's a Swogo page to try and
yeah,
find that audience. Not so much audience for my sake, but just the camaraderie, the community of people, like-minded people or not, to talk about the game. So yeah, that's why I was asking. I thought about it last night. I was like, make sure to ask him how to use this thing, when you can get it to run on your dated equipment.
yeah. I don't even think they have a gaming area on Substack, which some people have been, critical of. There's no like gaming space there. I actually think that myself and Kazgul are the only people from this game that are currently posting anything on Substack. Right, so we gotta get these guys
Yeah,
low.
I haven't even attempted to try and do any kind of posting up there. I joined and I got up under you so I can see when you do stuff up there, and then I was like, I can't figure this out. So I thought I would ask.
I think Substack, for the most part, has become very much like a writer's paradise, like a new writer's paradise, um, where people try to have like their novels discovered, uh, which isn't really a knock on those people so much. It's just what it is. Um, it's not really used for the purpose in which I'm using. Oh, I should have done it on this guy. For the purpose that I'm using it, though, I'm going to continue using it because it seems to work pretty well for me. Okay. Even if I am only getting, let's see, who goes, even if I only get more than 1,800, I am on it, or 18 mil, or 1.8 million, I am honestly relatively happy. A few turns. Kill him. This might actually be problematic. But we'll see what happens. I got my 18. And I am, no matter what happens here, going to accept the score. Because I also have a life. That's nasty. I think that stacks. If not, that's a lesson for me to learn for the future. Offense and defense. Not amazing, but still.
Yeah, I'm like you at this
2.5 million.
point. Our window's closing. I've got like 7 hours left. I need to just get some scores in there at this point.
My raid actually just
figure
started.
this out now. Well, congrats to you. And again, I work a lot. I have a huge family, and so also like with making my content, it's just I am so time pressed for everything. So I'm last to the table with this, and then they made changes to it. So I mean, I was going to start it the other night, and then they made the changes. I was like, crap, I might as well wait at this point. So I am totally in the dark. But the more I practice and run, who knows? Maybe I'll find something that's worthwhile for people out there. Chances are great I won't. I'll leave that to Scribe, of course. But who knows? But I can't figure it out right now.
You've just convinced me to retry it again, so I hate you. As like extra testing, and I'm never gonna get that same RNG that I just got, and it's gonna annoy the crap out of me. Because I guess now is the best time to try and figure it out, and get that next personal box. I would love if my bad batch. I need Batcher at Relic 7, and then I'll get some more points out of that as well. Okay, got that. Got that. I guess the more I do this, the better I'll get at it. That was the wrong move. That was dumb. Oh. Yeah, Grumpy. It does. It keeps the super negative people out, and the the way that it is on Reddit. Everybody can see it, and now people actually have to go out of their way to find it, which sucks from the perspective of you want people to read your stuff, but it's for my mental health. Not having to deal with that is very nice. But no, as of right now, no changes have actually been made yet. They've just kind of let us know that they probably will be making specific changes.
So what you're saying is Substack is like a country club to where you have certain members that you let gate in, and then you keep the riffraff out.
I would say it's like a free country club because it's free, right? But people are so lazy that they are like, oh, I have to fill out a form. Fuck that. So it is kind of like that. Like there's that tiny barrier to entry. And people go, oh, I don't want to do that tiny barrier to entry thing. I just want to do the thing. And it helps in that regard. And for my type of content, which is generally very newsletter-esque, it does work for what I want it to do. And I've been able to post more pictures and utilize like the AI pictures more, like the silly things that just go to my head. Well, when we talk about forums, it's like a normal.
Kill Vader. He just pimps out.
Yeah, if you get to the end, Vader he like flips out, which is why you want to kill all of the clones, because then you don't have to deal with him.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. Then we want to do that. Get order 66. We're getting better at this. Want to get orders on the other guy. You eat all of that turn meter around. Dead. Good. This guy.
I'm tapping submit, and I'm just doing gear 12 required just to get 450 times 5.
Just to get something, right? Like
Yeah. Until Scribe puts out some more stuff for me to copy.
yeah, come on, Scribe. Stop being a late ass. Like, it's like prioritizing his family and like work and other things when he should be prioritizing us.
Exactly. He's taking the Cub span route and taking a sabbatical from giving us content.
Should be. I don't know why he's here in the chat right now when he should be making content. Like, it's kind of messed up if you think about it.
He's making a different kind. He's screen recording us and being like, these two clowns, these two yahoos, don't do what they do. What's your boy Scribble?
As for the flag buff, for this run, I have no idea. I'm going off of what was said in the video I was watching, and it didn't seem like he really ever used the flag buff. So I've been avoiding using the flag buff for the same reason. Now these guys all have their retribution. Do him. I wonder if this... No, that probably won't kill him. I wonder if this will work. Alright, let's see. 2.5. No, okay. Well, I got 2.6 now. I mean, better than nothing, I guess. We're gonna just accept that 2.6 because I do have a movie to get to very shortly. I was so close there. I am happy about that at least. There's my hot utils. So, Solo, I'm gonna say thank you for joining me this morning. I'm glad we were able to do this. Finished the raid for right now on my end. My wife and I, we are going to see a movie. I don't even know what movie we're going to see, and then we're going to the in-laws. So, wish me well, having to deal with the in-law family. And while you give any last thoughts, I'm gonna see if there's anyone currently on Twitch for us to raid.
So first off, yeah, I appreciate you letting me do this with you, hang out with cool kids. I never claimed to be cool. I try not to let it take 2 years to do something with you again. Enjoy your weekend, man. Be safe. This is one of those weekends where it's not just you; it's people around you might be doing some things, and so just take that with a grain of salt. But I do appreciate it. For anybody out there that thought I was semi-interesting, or they're just bored, I would ask if you could please check out some of my stuff. Remember, take it with a grain of salt. A lot of my stuff is older and dated, so the metrics in the game have changed or whatever. But I do appreciate any and all any suggestions. If you got something you want to see or suggest, I will try to do what I can to work with that in the confines of my technology and my time. but I will definitely reach out and get back to you if you drop me any kind of subscribe, like, comments. And like always, that I end my stuff with, remember in your SWOGO journey, you don't have to go alone, but you might want to go. So,
And I linked this earlier, but I'll link this in the chat just before we finish up for anyone that is interested. We are gonna raid out to Nooch, who is on. We'll give him a hard time for a few minutes, and then I have to go wake up my wife, or we're gonna be late to this movie. So peace out, guys, and have a great weekend. Very, very